Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Man the Helm. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, bell icon, all that good stuff. You already know what to do. So this is actually the video version of the podcast. If you guys would like to check out the audio version, that will be available wherever you stream your podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. So all applicable links will be down below for myself, affiliate links, all the good stuff that I'm up to, as well as everything my guest today. My guest today is Alicca Koznecki. We connected on TikTok quite a while ago, and it was really awesome to finally get to sit down and have a face-to-face chat. She's a really awesome person, killer singer. So let's get to the show. Welcome back to Man the Helm podcast. I'm your host, Jake. Today I am joined by Alicca Koznecki. What's up? How's it going?
Hey, it's good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we connected on TikTok quite a while ago, I feel like. You know, it's been a long time. I mean, I haven't been on there too long, but I think we've kind of been friends on there since I've been on there, really.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed your stuff on there. But other than what I've seen on TikTok, I don't really know a whole lot about you. So maybe we can start with, you know, who you are, what you do, and how you kind of got into this kind of crazy world of singing, playing music, songwriting, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's kind of, I guess, I would say my musical journey now, especially, is pretty green as far as getting myself out there. I feel like it took me a while to even put myself out there in general. Even though I've really been involved in music for pretty much my whole life. So I actually started singing. I would sing karaoke in my parents' living room as a kid.
Nice.
So it's kind of all started there, I guess. And wanting to get involved in it. 'Cause definitely singing is my main focus, I would say, overall. I always say my guitar playing is subpar. I picked it up like recently, honestly, and it was something that I did to kind of help me along with being able to sing.
Gotcha.
So kind of an accompaniment, I guess, but it's never been something that I would claim I'm very good at.
For sure. Well, it's subjective anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, like, musicians are definitely harder on themselves in general.
Oh, dude, I know, I definitely am.
Yeah, it's crazy. But, no, I mean, definitely the singing's where I kind of got involved. And, to be honest, well, I mean, I've performed, like, a little bit in, like, high school. I did, like, musicals, things like that.
Okay.
And I was always involved in music growing up. Whether it be, I actually played the flute, so
Nice.
for a long time. I don't play it anymore, but maybe, I don't know, start a band with some flute action. But
Hey, man, I used to play violin and trumpet in
yeah,
middle school, so I totally
Yeah.
get the whole band, you know, geek side of things.
absolutely.
So.
Yeah, no, so I actually like have grown up around music a lot, and then I went to pharmacy school at Temple.
Okay.
And I kind of let music take the back burner in a way. And for me, I think that personally, the times when I've had music in my life is when I've felt better mental health wise.
For sure.
So I think that always kind of having that in my life is important to me. So just kind of from there, I kind of started it back up, and then I did the TikToks, which actually I started out on Twitch.
Okay.
So I actually would perform live and play acoustically. Some of my early TikTok videos are actually from some of those performances.
Oh,
if
gotcha.
you yeah, delve way back in the archive. But so I started doing that, and then just from there I started to do I started getting involved in kind of the music scene in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
That's mainly where I started getting my basis, I guess. And I worked with a band for a little bit. I had in my mind that I wanted to do cover bands. So that was where I was like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. And I ended up started working with an original band.
Nice.
So it was completely not what I was looking for, but I actually loved it. And they were working on writing at the time, so I was working on songwriting and writing like vocal melodies, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I actually ended up quitting because it was actually a mental health kind of thing that I went through at the time.
Gotcha.
I personally am so open about talking about it. I think sharing about like mental health is important in general, just because I feel like the more you share, more people open up about it themselves.
Definitely.
So I personally have OCD, and I have social anxiety, which is crazy for performing.
Right, right.
Yeah, so I definitely have had to overcome hurdles for that. But I ended up leaving that because I kind of let my OCD kind of take over. And I ended up working with the band I was working with mostly in Pittsburgh, which was called Drowning in Violet.
I love that name, by the way. That is
Thank
such a
you.
killer name.
Yeah, so it's rock music. Right now, we're kind of on a break.
Okay.
Some things went down,
Gotcha.
unfortunately. But for me, I was actually driving over 3 hours to still perform with them and work with them because I was that into the music and believing in it. So
For sure.
yeah, that was kind of the background, I guess, of where I've been. And I actually just started working with a cover band that's kind of more local to me too.
Oh, cool.
So they just started, there's probably like 10-ish songs that they started working on. But they said they want to do originals at some point, so that's like what I want to head towards, I guess. And what
sure.
I like to do, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say from my experience playing in the cover band sort of thing, I hope it doesn't happen because it always seems to.
Yeah.
You get stuck in this like perpetual loop of just kind of playing, the same 60, 70, 100 songs. And it's, it's good to get paid. It's cool that you're, playing for people that are cheering for you playing, but you're not really playing music that you've done anything with. You know what I mean? You're just kind of
Absolutely.
just kind of being a record player. That was the biggest thing for me because I was playing in a cover band for like 3 years, man, and I just got sick of it. And kind of like you said, I was just so burnt out. I was almost getting depressed going to play, you know, because it was just like, oh, this song again. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally get the, and that's the thing that people don't really understand from the outside perspective is like when you're playing in bands, there's so many factors that, like even small things that just start to snowball, and they can snowball so quickly. And the next thing you know, you're just like, well, I don't like you anymore. I'm not going to play with you anymore. Or, somebody in the band gets all, upset about something that really isn't that big of a deal. But I think mostly that just comes down to communication. Everybody just having a clear intent and just being honest about what they want,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I completely agree. And that's honestly where the issue did actually happen, was in the communication. So
Yeah.
Nail on the head.
Yeah. Well, I hate to say it, but it's just, I almost sound like a broken record sometimes when I'm talking to some of my friends about this.
Yeah.
Because that's what it always is. It's like, oh, well, so-and-so didn't say that they had this, this, and this to do. And now we can't play these gigs. It's like, well, they probably knew about it well in advance. You know, they could have just let somebody know. But yeah,
Yeah,
I feel you, man.
absolutely. Yeah.
But kind of backpedaling to what you kind of talked about earlier, I always like to hear about, like, what was the initial kind of push to get you, like, to kind of put yourself out there? Because that's
Yeah.
always the scariest part for most creators, is that initial, like, leap,
Yeah.
you know? Because then it's like, oh, great, now everybody's going to judge me. I can't sing, I can't play guitar. You know, why am I going to be anything on the internet? You know what I mean? But what was that initial, like, push to get you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So you saying that, I think I still feel that sometimes. I feel
Still
that all the
happening?
time. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I think that just always, I think, like, putting yourself out there. There's been times where I've uploaded things and I'm like, oh Jesus,
Yep.
and I just take it down and it's like you just regret it. But I mean, I feel that for me, truthfully, I have always gotten myself to push through, because my biggest thing is the social anxiety. So putting myself out there and feeling judged, that's part of my OCD. So
Right.
it kind of goes hand in hand. And I feel that so for me, I really probably the first time I did actually perform in front of people was talent shows in high school.
Nice.
So really, and like that's, I think, like the first, like, I really that I did, like, kind of get up in front of people and like actually put myself and get myself to do that. But I mean, and then I kind of had that lapse, like I kind of said, where I went through college and kind of had a break from it, and then really getting back into it. I feel like doing the TikToks and putting that out there, I really didn't know. I guess, like, it was kind of like a just see how it goes sort of thing. I actually started a
For sure.
TikTok for my dog that I had at the time.
Nice.
So I started out like that, and like that's kind of when I moved to, I was like, well, you know, I have some videos, I'll just throw them up there. And so I kind of started doing that. And for me, it's also therapeutic in a way, because doing the covers and doing the music, and like it's something I can do on my own.
For sure.
So it's kind of like a thing that like is a break from everyday life.
Yep.
And being able to do that music thing and just take like a couple hours where I'm like, I'm just going to sit down and just play my struggle of guitar and sing. But I mean, it's really therapeutic, like I said. And like, that's kind of been the most important things in my life and best times is when I've had that music, background.
For
going
sure.
on.
But dude, I
Yeah.
can't tell you, I've had some of the worst days imaginable, and then, you know, you get to come home and you get to hang out and you get to kind of just shut yourself away, and
Yeah.
you know, you can play anything from, you know, some super heavy, you know, rock or metal stuff to get some aggression out, or you can just kind of chill and just noodle around, you know,
Yeah.
and start writing melodies that, you know, and that's the thing that I love so much about music, is that it doesn't come. It's like it doesn't come from anywhere specific. It just happens. You know what I mean? It's just whatever
Yeah.
you're feeling, whatever you're going through, you can get it out, you know? And I think that's the biggest thing, especially like we're talking about with the mental health thing, is, you know, people that leave that stuff bottled up inside of them, next thing you know, they just, like, you know, it might not be for a long time, but, you know, eventually that stuff's going to spill over, and it's not going to be good for anybody involved. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, for me personally, just dealing with the OCD and that, it definitely has affected my musical path along the way. Like I said,
sure.
like quitting, a band that like I got crazy paranoia over because I was just letting my OCD kind of run wild at the time. And so, I mean, it's definitely been a journey. And even like I kind of said with the pushing myself to get up and perform every single time, that's something that is always something I'm able to do, but it's still something that is a challenge. And I mean, I feel like music is good for that. It's definitely pushing boundaries and it's tough putting yourself out there. It's really tough. And struggling to see how you're going to be perceived in general, and especially with writing and putting that out there. I think it's tough. And I don't know about, like, I struggle with seeing the outside perspective of things that I write sometimes. So I'm like, I don't know if is this any good?
Right.
I guess sometimes it's hard to know, or how people will take it. But I mean,
you know, that's one of the things, you know, you go play some of these gigs where, you know, you're playing your original music for the first time, you know, and, you know, the butterfly factor is already kind of there because, you know, it might be somewhat of a large venue. There might be a decent amount of people there. So you're already kind of nervous. And then you hit that first chord of that song that you've written and you're about to, you know, put your heart and soul into this performance. But then always in the back of your mind too, you're just like, well, hope they like it.
Yeah, I know.
You know, like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so nerve wracking. But then it's like, this is why I like playing live more, because you get immediate feedback, whether it's good or bad, you get immediate feedback. It's like, well, okay, I know not to do that because everybody's just standing there with, you know, their arms crossed like this, and, you know, going to go get a drink from the bar or whatever. Yeah. But if there's been a few times, man, where, you know, you look back and it's like you see the crowd and they're singing a vocal melody that they've only heard once back to you. And you're like, oh, well, this is a good song.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The problem, though, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's definitely important, I feel like, and kind of cool seeing which songs are received like that and being able to kind of weed things out like that.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Well, the problem is, I think, with the social media side that we live in right now is you get that feedback immediately, but it's not the same. You know what I mean? You have these people that are so worried about likes and comments and stuff like that, of people that really, like, especially on TikTok, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to any of the audience on my end or your end, but you're just scrolling through and hitting a like button. You know, if you're commenting, that means you actually watched the video, maybe. You know, and depending on what it is, it could just be like, hey, that's awesome. It's like, okay, well, I feel like a jerk saying that, but it's like, they might think it is awesome, but it's just like, that's one of those like generic things.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how to perceive that. Like, well, thank you. What was awesome about it though? You know?
No, absolutely. And I feel like too, it's really hard to, especially on TikTok, because I feel like there's a fine line between having something up that is going to capture somebody, because I feel like if you don't, then it's immediately someone's just going to keep scrolling, because it's so easy on the platform to just keep scrolling through things. So I feel like grabbing that attention is hard. And I feel like that's especially tough in the music side of it.
For sure.
Because it's like, I kind of want you to hear my song singing it, but like, I also know it's going to be a short like time that you're actually going to spend time listening to it.
Right.
So it's like a fine line between that sort of dynamic of balancing it and like figuring out which part people are going to be most attentive to or want to listen to. And it's like, I mean, when I record a lot of the song, and then I take like probably, I don't even know, like probably close to 50, 60 takes of something.
Right. When
I sit there, and then it's like I upload it, and then it's like it'll get like 30 views, and you're like, well, you know, but it's for me too, honestly.
Exactly.
So, I mean, like, that's kind of how I feel and how I really do approach it, is that it's like, I mean, if people like to watch it, that's awesome, but like, I personally get something out of it as well, so.
Well, you know, that's my biggest thing when I talk to people about social media, or even just music in general. You know, if it's like, would you still be doing this even if people weren't liking, commenting, showing up to the shows? Would you still be playing the instrument, or would you still be singing? And if the answer is yes, I do that because I enjoy it, then yes, you do need to put yourself out there, because nothing's going to stop you from pushing yourself more to pursue that craft. Now, if people enjoy what you post or they enjoy what you're doing live, that's just the added benefit. But at the end of the day, you're doing it because you love it.
Exactly, yeah. And I feel like having that mentality is really important
For sure.
to not lose that, because I mean, I feel like you can get so caught up in caring about that, and I mean, people are mean sometimes.
For sure. For
So
sure.
it's like, I mean, I feel like you kind of have to approach it that way almost, and just kind of, I think, and that's definitely something I've struggled with, is I feel like getting that negative feedback. There's my dog.
Oh, hey.
But definitely, I feel like that's been something that I have struggled with, and I think that so part of my OCD too is the perfectionism side of it.
Yes.
And so which also goes with the takes of me doing so many and trying to pick out something that I think looks aesthetically pleasing, but also sounds good. So I mean, matching that and like being able to get past the nitpickiness of trying to get something that I think is good. And I mean, it is a whole process. I mean, even for your videos, I feel like too, with like all of your gear stuff and everything like that, like and I mean, putting that knowledge out there, I think that's really cool. So.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants, dude.
Aren't we all though?
Yeah, I know. I just kind of throw rice at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's what you have to do sometimes, though. Especially, like, there's been videos where I'm like, this is just, I don't think anybody's going to watch it, and then people do. So, I mean, I feel like you never know.
For sure.
What to put out there and what's going to actually be seen and something that people will stop and actually listen to.
Yeah, well, and I think that's, like, part of that fear of, like, putting yourself out there is you get that in your head that nobody's going to watch it. It's like, well, you don't know what people are going to watch. For all you know, if you're a super, quirky personality that does woodworking, who knows? There's going to be people out there that want to see you. If you're a singer-songwriter, I hate the mentality that people are all like, oh, well, there's already a bunch of singer-songwriters.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there are, but there's no one that's like you.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
could connect with somebody. You could create a community. Next thing you know, I'm not trying to say you're going to be like, massively famous.
Yeah.
But, there was a guy I was talking to on here that was telling me something about YouTube. And it's like, it doesn't matter how many people watch your videos. It just depends on who's watching your videos.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important anyways. Like, I feel like, and that's the thing with TikTok that I've kind of seen a little bit, is I feel like it's more getting to know people and being a community and finding people like that, as opposed to getting followers that are not gonna interact with you. I feel like that's almost more of like creating a creative web through that. And TikTok is really good, I think, for the music community. There's a lot that people put out there, and there's a lot of creative stuff on there. So,
well, yeah, I mean, anything from collaborations to going live together to they make the platform so convenient for networking. I know all social media is networking, but TikTok in particular, it's really awesome, especially for the small niche environment that we are associated with, because it is very small. I think that's one of the things people also forget when they're in the music world. There's not very many people, relatively speaking, that play an instrument.
Yeah.
And if you do it somewhat well, there are not very many people that play that instrument or sing that are good at that instrument or sing. So It might seem like when you're scrolling through that, for instance, for me, the 12-year-olds that can just out-shred anybody. Yeah. Okay. Those kids are out there. But that doesn't mean I should be discouraged by it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's easy to compare yourself.
For sure.
In the social media sphere. Absolutely. And I think that it's so outreaching. And I feel like the people that you see a lot of times is the people who are having more viral videos. So, I mean, it's easier to see those people that are doing something that other people were drawn to already, and then compare yourself that way. But I mean, I think just the mentality of doing it for something other than the gratification of other people liking things. And I think that's just really important to keep in mind when you're doing the social media, because it's so easy to get lost in that and compare yourself. it definitely goes hand in hand with the putting yourself out there.
For sure. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and this is a story that I kind of wanted to share, but it was so funny because they are really kind of pushing. I think it was I can't remember. I want to say it was YouTube or something like that. And it's like, oh man, nobody's watching my stuff, and I'm getting like no views, and I'm like, well, I mean, you've played to the walls before at clubs, man.
Exactly.
Which is more awkward.
Yeah.
I
know.
It's so much more awkward with the one person standing in front of you
Yeah.
than you only having a handful of views on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the best part about the YouTube thing is you can just let that thing sit there, and people are going to find it most likely.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
So the perspective thing, as far as, the validation of numbers, doesn't really mean anything, especially in the beginning. Nobody is going to know who you are. Why would they? You've never put anything out.
Absolutely.
So it's just one of those things that you kind of got to put aside some of, maybe your feelings of inadequacy, for just a minute. Really kind of put yourself out there, because nobody is, especially in this world, everybody has something of value when it comes to, regardless of what you're doing, but especially musicians, because it's a universal language. It doesn't matter where you're from, what your culture is. You hear something, it does something to you inside. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You can feel it.
Yeah.
So the value there for musicians, for me, it's a lot easier because you can get an emotional response from somebody.
Definitely, yeah. No, it's a lot more far-reaching, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're just I'm not trying to discredit woodworking or anything like that. I'm sure it's, a very awesome community to be a part of. I'm just not a part of it. But, for me, I think that's more of like, here's a technical skill that I can show you and teach you. Mm-hmm. Where music has that too, but it's more of an emotional thing from, a listener perspective.
Absolutely. And I think that the thing with music too is I feel that it has the ability to affect people in so many ways. Yeah. I think that for me, like I said, like mental health, I feel like a lot of people that I have talked to in the music sphere have some type of thing that they personally have struggled with in that aspect. And I feel that, that's music wise, I feel like it's very therapeutic. People use it there's musical therapy. So, like it's something that I feel that is something that reaches a lot of people and affects people, and that people do have an emotional connection to. And being able to put something out there that people listen to and feel some type of way is really cool. Even if it's in some small sphere where someone just scrolling by takes a look and is interested for a second.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, my thing is, it's like, I've always enjoyed, helping people out and trying to figure out what they need and stuff like that. So it's like, if me playing some silly thing on TikTok can help you, maybe you're having a bad day and you happen to scroll through and that just makes your day just a little bit better, then that's a win in my book. I don't care about the likes. I don't care about the numbers or anything like that. It's I'm trying to provide something to the audience that they will enjoy. And it'll kind of take them away from the monotony of their life for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely feel like that's a huge thing that you need to think of when you do that, is kind of having that thing for you and not losing that as well. Yeah. And being able to have that mentality. And I do think that, scrolling through, it makes a difference. You never know like what people are interested in or what they're drawn to. And I feel that's kind of what's cool about the social media aspect anyways, like reaching out to so many people like that. And it is completely different from the performing locally. So it's really a lot different, but in ways, for me, the live performing has come a little bit later with like the getting involved in the band stuff. And I think that is also a really cool dynamic. And that has also helped me meet a lot of people locally and talk to people and get to know people through that as well. So, I mean, it's a different way of finding people and getting to know people, but it's also really cool to network that way as well.
I feel like those connections are a lot, obviously a lot more, beneficial because you're in person with
Absolutely, yeah.
them. And most of the time, at least in my experience, if I'm out at a show and I'm hanging out with people, at the bare minimum, like, I'm not just like following them on TikTok, like I'm getting them on all their social media platforms. If they think I'm not a weirdo, they might even give me their number if want to get together and jam and stuff. That's the coolest part about it.
Absolutely.
The bad thing that I've encountered with that, at least in some of the local scenes that I've been a part of, especially on the lower levels, what ends up happening is you have these bands that come through. Maybe they're opening up for a touring act, and then they play, and they just dip. It's like, dude, you gotta hang out. You gotta hang out, man. Like, that's the biggest thing for me. It's like, if you're gonna be, support for a touring band, like, stay there. If you
Absolutely.
can, maybe if you can buy something from the band. Like, it's the same thing for, like, I've kind of talked about this for supporting your favorite artist on social media. It's free, first of all. Like, comment, and share. Boom.
Yeah.
You're supporting your favorite artist on social media. But if you're going to go see a band and that is what they're doing for a living, I always try to do something to give them a little bit of cash in their pocket, man. Because it's so hard just going around living on a bus, not having anything most of the time, especially for some of those lower level guys.
Yeah, that's absolutely, and I feel like that's incredibly important for the bands that are not as well known.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's supporting them in their journey and helping them further themselves along. And I think that you spoke to like a little bit of the smaller bands sticking around, and I mean, I feel that that's some of the greatest networking is like sticking around and talking to the other people who either listen to the songs and like, or listen to your band and talk to you about that. I mean, I feel like talking to people like that, and then also talking to other bands that played or things like that, just kind of, I feel like that's growing that community in a way, and that's definitely incredibly important. So yeah, I completely agree.
Well, you never know where those interactions are going to go either. I mean, they might have a show 2 weeks from now where they're playing at a bigger venue.
Yeah.
And they need another band to play.
Yeah.
And if you're a cool person and you're not a jerk to them, you're like, oh man, you guys rock. You should come, I'm going to talk to the promoter and see if we can get you on the bill for this.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah.
I did check out some of the live videos of you guys. They were pretty rad.
The Drowning in Violet?
I did.
Yeah. Yeah, no. It's really so Drowning in Violet, actually the person who music it's mainly is the guitarist. His name is Donnie.
Okay.
He actually did a lot of his musical ability is pretty crazy as far as writing.
Nice.
He like there's been times when I actually worked on like the vocals and lyrics for one of the songs that he wanted to change up. So, but there was like points where like he would say try this or adding this a certain way, and he would almost be able to like hear it in his head. Yep. And just be kind of like, this is like a thing to add. And I thought that was really, really cool because it's like, I mean, when I work on the vocal melodies, I do hear things in my head, but to a lesser degree, I feel like it takes me a little bit longer to get to that point and like figure stuff out and know whether it's like work through the process, I guess. Yeah. And so seeing someone who's like done it for a long time and then can just kind of hear it in his head and be like, you should add this. And it was 100% what was needed. And it fit so perfect that it was just, it's stuff like that blows me away because it's like some ability to be able to hear things like that in your head. And just, it was exactly what was missing from the song at that point.
Right.
But it's really cool. And so he did a lot of the music, and I actually walked into the band and he had a bunch of that and wanted to kind of start that as a starting ground, and then to be able to play out and then work from there as far as like adding new music. And so it was cool in that aspect because it was like we can get started and stuff like that and work on things. And I was completely drawn to the music. I love it, and it's still something that I completely think is great and stand by. And it is well received, I would say, when we play out. So I think people enjoy it as well. It's really cool stuff. But yeah, so I mean it stinks because right now, like I said, it's kind of like in a lull. Because we did have the drama that fell through, and it's sad because I mean, for me, like I was driving like 3 hours, like I said, to go out there and play and do practices every week. So I mean, I was committing a lot because I believed in the music that much and wanted to see the band succeed and everything. So I mean, it's unfortunate when things like that do come through, and I stay away from the drama so much. I do not want anything to do with it ever.
Right.
I am like the person who will be silent in the group chats if that happens.
Absolutely. Dude, there was a thing that I was trying to explain to some people, and it's awesome 'cause for you actually had that experience. You never want to be the best person in the room when you're playing in a band, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you learn all this awesome stuff that you wouldn't have known before, you know?
Yeah.
And then it really helps you because then, you know, you're getting better as a musician too by taking some of the advice and, you know, experience from the other people you're playing with.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
That's the biggest thing for me. It's like I want to play with people that, one, you know, write good stuff, but also inspire me to want to do better.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like for me, just starting in the band sphere, like the past couple of years, I feel like for me, it's definitely been a learning curve. Like
For sure.
It's a lot, and there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of time that people in the bands dedicate to and work on the stuff. And so there's a lot that goes along in people practicing and working and perfecting the band and their craft in order to play out and actually play decent. So I mean, it's a lot. I mean, playing an instrument is not easy. Singing is not easy.
Well, you know, you look at the perspective of like the outside, like the audience, right? They see you play a 45-minute to an hour show. Well, they don't know for the past, you know, 6 months that you guys have been rehearsing, you know, 2-3 times a week. You specifically have been driving, you know, 3+ hours to get to, you know, just to get to practice.
Yeah.
You know, and then obviously coming back home and doing all that stuff too. It's like, and then having a life of your own, you know, like this isn't the only thing you do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing that I've always tried to relay to people is, especially like it's nice having, like you were saying with the mental health thing too. It's like, it's nice talking about everything and letting everybody know from the outside perspective of what really happens with musicians, what really happens with bands, you know, even just solo artists, you know, the mental health thing of, like you said, and I don't prescribe to much of the woo, but I do think that everything happens for a reason. There's a thing that happens. I don't know what it is, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care, but there's a reason why you're taking a break right now. You know what I mean? There's a reason why, and when you come out on the other side of that break, you're going to be better, and you're going to be more refreshed, and, you know, who knows what's going to happen after that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So,
no.
It's kind of one of those bad things with bands, though. It always seems drama always kind of creeps its way in. You know what I mean?
I know. It's crazy. And it's unfortunate because it's like, I don't know. Like, I try and avoid it like crazy.
Yeah.
I just am not. I'm a very go with the flow type person anyway. So I'm just like, if you guys want to do that, that's fine. Like, I'll go along and it's all good. But I mean, it's just unfortunate, I think, when things like that do pop up and then things are dealt with the wrong way and not how they should be. And then people are hurt. And like, I think that's tough. And it's like, I mean, you kind of build a rapport with people in the, like, in your band. Like, they're more than, like, there's definitely a dynamic that
For sure.
needs to kind of be in sync in order to, like, perform in these bands and for it to feel right and for it to kind of click. So, I mean, like, there are people that, like, you spend a lot of time with, and, like, I mean, you want to be, like, at least, like, on a good page with these people, and, like, people that you want to hang out with and, like, spend that time with. So, I mean, it's definitely tough, and, like, when things like that happen and things fall apart. So, I mean, it's tough overall, but for me, and at least for Drowning in Violet, I hope they do work out, because, like I said, I really believe in the music. I think it's really cool, and I think, like, what he's done with the music and everything is really something that should be out there, because it's really cool stuff. The first time I heard it and listening to it, it was something that I wanted to be involved in and wanted to do, and so I hope it continues on.
Oh, dude, you
so
know both, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap all this up, I'm doing a thing called, like, Words of Wisdom or something like that, and then I want to get your plugs out of the way.
Okay.
So, I want to know something that you wish you could go back and tell yourself before you kind of started. Let's start with not really like the band and, you know, the flute playing, but more of like the, you know, guitar playing, singing, putting on yourself out on the internet, playing in bands, stuff like that. So what's something you wish you could have told yourself when you were younger?
Something I would probably say, which I still probably would tell myself, is to not be so hard on yourself. I feel like that's something that I completely struggle with, and I think that it's something that I still need to remind myself, is that I feel like the critique of, like, I messed this up, I did this wrong, it's not the way I want it to be, and I feel like just kind of keep pushing and to not so much get in your head about those things. Definitely. Because I feel like it's really easy to lose yourself in that and get lost in it. And I think that for me, the music thing is something that I always want to have in my life. So I think keeping that mental health in check and keeping myself healthy in those ways, and then just kind of following through with the rest of everything.
There you go.
Making sure that goes together.
Yep.
And I feel like for me, like, definitely the music is something that I always want to be involved in and growing, and you meet a lot of people out of it. So
for sure.
Yeah. It's cool overall.
Yeah. The bad times the bad times definitely don't outweigh the good times when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
I almost screwed that up. I was about to make everybody real depressed.
No. No, yeah, completely.
Where can everybody find you at?
So mostly my biggest area where I do put on my music is on TikTok, which is Alicca. It's ALIKOZ 28. Because I was born on the 28th. So yeah, you can follow me there. That's where I do my covers. And then you can also check out Drowning in Violet. Hopefully we will be back up and running, but overall it's a really cool band, and it's a lot of stuff that I think that the world should really hear. And, like, people in general, I mean, it's cool stuff, and I was drawn to it. So, I mean, I think putting that out there is cool.
I was going to say, from what little I've gotten to see of it, you know, that's online, I really dig it, man. So I really hope it kind of, you know, starts snowballing for you. You know, everybody kind of works everything out that needs to be worked out and get it going.
Absolutely.
But regardless, all those will be down in the show notes. So if anybody listening wants to check out anything that Alicia's up to, it'll all be right there, and you can check it all out. But had a great time talking to you, man. It's good to kind of, like, not just be, like, messaging on TikTok or just like liking and commenting, you know, on stuff. It's actually good to get, like, a face-to-face. So I'm really happy you agreed to come on and talk to me for a little bit.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it because I mean it's cool to see and like make those connections, even if it's through TikTok. I mean, it's far reaching and I mean, I'll definitely share to the people that I know here in Pittsburgh. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so hopefully people will check it out because I mean your stuff is really cool. And I think it's informational, sorry. So,
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, with that, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. So for all of you listening, we will check you guys next week on Man the Helm Podcast.